have you ever really thought about what makes a hero a hero? Across all the stories we love,
Hmm.
is it just raw strength, like overpowering everything? Or maybe it's being incredibly smart, figuring things out.
Or maybe something else entirely.
Yeah, like unwavering faith, or maybe just that gut instinct to jump into danger.
That really gets to the core of building a character, doesn't it? Actually, it reminds me of a D&D game we had recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had this really tough fight, and it was fascinating watching how everyone tackled it. It was so um, defined by their class,
Hmm.
but even more by their specific subclass choice.
Right.
We had a pretty mixed group.
Hmm.
Couple like casters,
Hmm.
different kinds, a big armored type, someone sneaky,
Hmm.
and someone tied to nature.
A classic party setup.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And seeing how their different abilities meshed or sometimes clashed
Mm.
really shaped how we approach things. There was this one moment, our fighter usually just hits things, right?
Yeah.
But he'd taken the Battlemaster path. And instead of just doing damage, he used this clever maneuver to shove an enemy right into the perfect spot for our rogue.
Ah, setting up the sneak attack. Nice.
Exactly. It wasn't just being a fighter. It was that specific subclass that's totally turned the tide. Made a huge difference.
And that's exactly what we're diving into today. The core classes in Dungeons and Dragons, and especially those customizable subclasses.
Right. We're using the D&D 2025 class and subclass guide from LitRPG Reads as our map for this.
Our goal here is really to help make sense of these 13 core classes and all the options their subclasses bring.
Because these choices, they're not just about combat stats. They define your character's whole role, how you fight, sure, but also how you roleplay, how you fit into the group story.
And honestly, looking at all the options, especially if you're newer to D&D, it can feel a bit overwhelming.
Definitely. So think of this as us trying to shine a light on what makes each class tick, what their subclasses add, without getting totally bogged down in every single rule.
The guide also mentions things like homebrew fan-made stuff and multiclassing, which is blending classes.
Yeah, which are cool advanced options for really unique characters. But today we're focusing mainly on those official classes and subclasses and how they shape your part in the adventure.
We'll look at their combat roles, how they interact in a party, and how they contribute to the bigger story you're all telling. So, where should we start? Maybe with the Barbarian.
Sounds good. The Barbarian, often seen as the wild heartbeat of the front line. It's all about that rage.
Right, that core mechanic where they basically trade defense for more offense. They hit harder, take certain kinds of hits better.
Exactly. Bonus damage, resistance. It's potent.
But it's not just mindless smashing, is it? There's tactics there. When do you rage? Who do you target? Are you trying to soak up damage or just deal it out fast?
Precisely. Are you a disruptor? A shield? A pure damage juggernaut? And that's where the primal paths, the subclasses come in. They add different flavors to that core rage.
Like the path of the berserker. Just pure frenzied fury.
Yeah, letting you attack more often, but maybe with a cost. Or contrast that with the totem warrior who gets these animal spirit boons, maybe bear for toughness or wolf for helping allies attack.
And there are others, right? Ancestral Guardian protects allies.
Yep, spectral protectors. Storm Herald channels elemental power into their rage. Zealot brings this divine fury, making them super hard to kill.
Path of the Beast lets you get claws or fangs. Wild Magic is chaotic surges.
Battle Rager is that dwarf-specific spiked armor thing, and the new Path of the Giant lets them, get big and hit like a giant.
So overall, the Barbarian is your frontline damage dealer, your tank. Great for players who like straightforward action, maybe some intense emotional role-playing around that rage.
Definitely. Okay, so moving from raw fury to artistry and charm. The Bard.
Ah, the Bard. The soul and spark, you could say. They use magic through performance songs, stories, just sheer personality.
Super adaptable, they can dabble in loads of skills, solve problems in creative ways, often become the party's face in social stuff.
And they're full spellcasters, which is key. Plus, that bardic inspiration ability, giving allies that extra boost, is just fantastic.
It really is. It can turn a failure into a success. And like barbarians have paths, bards have colleges. These shape how their magic works and what they focus on.
So, College of Lore is about knowledge, spells, being a great support character.
Exactly. More spells, more skills. Then you have College of Valor, which makes them more combat-ready, almost like a fighter-mage hybrid.
College of Glamour uses fey magic for charm and control. Swords is all about flashy combat with weapons.
Whispers uses secrets and fear, almost like a spy. Creation lets them literally make things with magic. Eloquence makes them incredible talkers.
And there's spirits calling on tales of the dead for different effects, and the new College of Tragedy playing with fate and drama.
Yeah, lots of variety. Bards are great if you love improvising, finding clever solutions, and playing someone charismatic and maybe a little flamboyant. They really shine in social situations.
Okay, from performance magic to divine power, let's talk clerics.
Right. The Cleric, often thought of as just healers, but they're way more than that. They're like conduits for their gods, mixing magic, armor, and real spiritual weight.
Definitely not just heal bots. They can hit hard, stand on the front line if needed.
And what really defines them is their divine domain, their subclass. It's tied directly to their deity or their core beliefs. This shapes everything.
Their spells, their abilities, even the armor they can wear, right?
Absolutely. Their magic comes from devotion. So a life domain cleric, yeah, amazing healer. But a light domain cleric, they're throwing around radiant fire, blasting enemies.
And a war domain cleric is basically a holy warrior. Tempest clerics wield storms.
Trickery clerics use illusions and stealth. Knowledge clerics uncover secrets. Nature clerics have ties to the natural world. Grave domain is about the balance of life and death.
Forge domain masters metal and fire. Twilight protects in darkness. Order commands and controls. So much customization based on that one choice.
It's huge. You can build a cleric to be almost anything: support, offense, defense, a mix. It really depends on the flavor of faith you want to play. Great for being the party's heart or conscience.
Following the divine, let's go back to nature's power with the Druid.
Druids, shape changers, spellcasters, guardians of the wild. Their power comes straight from nature itself.
And they have that amazing dual toolkit, full spellcasting and wild shape. Being able to turn into beasts is just iconic.
Totally. One minute you're casting spells, the next you're a bear tanking hits or a bird scouting ahead. That flexibility is key.
And their subclasses, the Druid circles, define their connection. Circle of the Land ties them to specific environments, giving them extra spells.
Right. Well, Circle of the Moon makes their wild shape much more powerful, especially for combat. They can turn into tougher beasts much earlier.
Then you've got Circle of the Shepherd, focusing on summoning spirits and fae. Dreams is about fae healing. Spores is, well, fungus and decay magic, surprisingly potent.
Circle of Wildfire uses fire for damage and healing. Stars uses cosmic power. And the new Circle of the Primeval connects them to, like, dinosaurs and ancient beasts. Super cool. Druids offer so many ways to play. Healing, battlefield control, exploration, melee combat via wild shape. Perfect if you love nature themes and having lots of options.
Okay, from the wilds to the disciplined battlefield, the fighter.
Ah, the fighter, the master of martial combat. They might seem simple, but they're incredibly adaptable through their subclasses, the martial archetypes.
Great for beginners because the core is strong, but deep enough for veterans, too.
Exactly. They get great defenses, more attacks than anyone else usually, things like action surge for a whole extra turn of actions.
And second wind for a quick heal, real battlefield endurance.
For sure. And the subclasses let you specialize. Champion is straightforward, better critical hits. Battlemaster gets those tactical maneuvers we talked about earlier.
Eldritch Knight mixes in some arcane magic. Arcane Archer does the same, but with bows.
Cavalier is your mounted combat expert and protector. Samurai is about focused strikes and temporary hit points. Psy Warrior uses mind powers. Echo Knight summons duplicates.
Rune Knight uses giant magic. Purple Dragon Knight is about leadership. And Gunslinger if your campaign uses firearms.
So yeah, the fighter can be built in so many ways. A wall of steel, a precise striker, a clever tactician, whatever kind of combat expert you want to be, there's probably a fighter build for it.
Now, for something completely different, the monk. Speed, discipline, key power.
Yeah, the monk is all about agility and inner energy, that key. They're unarmed masters moving with grace, using ki for special moves.
Like flurry of blows for extra hits, patient defense for dodging, step of the wind for movement.
Right, and their unarmored defense means they can be surprisingly tough without armor. It's all about positioning, movement, timing, darting in and out.
And their subclasses, the monastic traditions, define their style. Way of the Open Hand is classic martial arts.
Way of Shadow uses stealth and shadow magic, teleporting through dim light. Way of the Four Elements lets them use ki to mimic elemental spells.
Long Death focuses on fear and resilience. Sun Soul shoots radiant blasts. Drunken Master uses unpredictable movement. Kensei masters specific weapons.
Way of Mercy can heal or harm with a touch, and Astral Self lets them summon like spectral arms to fight with.
So monks are really for players who like tactical movement, managing a unique resource pool with ki, and that elegant, high-mobility combat style.
This definitely rewards careful play. Okay, next up, the holy warrior fueled by conviction. The paladin.
Paladins, that blend of divine magic and martial skill, driven by their oath, hitting with powerful smites, protecting allies with auras.
They've got melee combat, spells, lay on hands for healing, those protective auras,
Hmm.
a really solid mix. But the oath, their subclass, is everything.
It's not just flavor text. It dictates their powers, their spells, and heavily influences how you should roleplay them, right?
Absolutely. Are you Oath of Devotion, the Shining Knight? Oath of the Ancients, protecting nature's light and joy? Oath of Vengeance, hunting down evil relentlessly?
Oath of Conquest seeks order through strength. Redemption seeks peace and mercy. Glory performs heroic deeds. Watchers guards against otherworldly threats.
Crown serves civilization and law. Open Sea champions freedom. Each oath gets a totally different feel and different abilities, like channel divinity options.
Paladins are great if you want to play a character with strong convictions. Could be a hero, could be an anti-hero. They're strong defenders and heavy hitters. Role-playing that oath is key.
For sure. Okay, let's head back towards the wilderness with the ranger.
Rangers, the survival experts, mixing martial skills, nature magic, and tactical utility. Trackers, hunters, masters of the wild.
They bridge that gap between fighter and druid, maybe? Some fighting, some spell casting, focus on specific enemies or terrains.
And their subclasses, the ranger archetypes, sharpen that focus. Do you get an animal companion, or special combat tricks, or unique magic?
Exactly. The classic is Beastmaster, with your animal friend fighting alongside you. Hunter gets specific tactics for taking down different kinds of foes.
Gloomstalker is amazing for ambushes in the dark. Fey Wanderer gets Fey magic and charm abilities. Swarmkeeper commands tiny swarms.
Monster Slayer specializes against magical threats.
Mm.
Horizon Walker uses planar magic for mobility. Drake Warden gets a dragon companion.
Primeval Guardian can become like a tree giant. Deep Stalker is for underground. Urban Ranger adapts skills for cities.
Rangers are perfect if you love exploration, scouting, maybe having an animal buddy, and blending combat with useful nature-themed abilities.
Now, into the shadows we go.
Hmm.
The Rogue.
The Rogue. Masters of stealth skills and that all-important sneak attack damage.
If you like being clever, moving unseen, and hitting precisely where it hurts, this is probably for you. Plus, all those skill expertises and cunning action for mobility.
Definitely. Cunning action, letting them dash, disengage, or hide as a bonus action is huge for their survivability and positioning. And the roguish archetypes add so much flavor.
Like the Thief, focusing on climbing, jumping, using items quickly. Assassin gets big damage on surprise foes and excels at disguise.
Arcane Trickster weaves in illusion and enchantment magic. Swashbuckler is your charismatic duelist, great in one-on-one fights.
Inquisitive is like a detective, spotting lies and weaknesses. Mastermind uses manipulation and can help allies from afar. Scout gets nature skills and mobility.
Soul Knife creates psychic blades. Phantom draws on spooky death energy. Wildcard is adaptable, gaining temporary skills.
Rogues really reward players who think outside the box, use skills creatively, and enjoy outsmarting opponents. They often shine in intrigue or heist-heavy campaigns.
Absolutely. Okay, shifting from skills to innate magic. The Sorcerer.
Sorcerers. Born with magic, not learned. Power comes from their bloodline or a fluke of cosmic chance or some divine touch.
Right. Unlike wizards studying books, sorcerers just have magic. Their spell list might be smaller, but they get meta magic.
And meta magic is huge, letting them tweak spells cast farther, hit more targets, cast silently. That flexibility is their main thing.
It really is. And their sorcerer's origins, their subclasses, explain where that power comes from and give them unique features. Draconic Bloodline gives dragon-like toughness and elemental damage boosts.
Wild magic is chaotic and unpredictable fun, but risky. Shadow magic draws on the Shadowfell for stealth and darkness powers.
Divine Soul gets access to cleric spells, blending arcane and divine. Storm sorcery controls wind and lightning. Aberrant Mind uses psionic alien magic.
Clockwork Soul is all about order and balance. Lunar sorcery shifts with moon phases. Pyromancer, well, loves fire.
Sorcerers are great for players who like focusing on a few key spells and making them really impactful with meta magic. Lots of potential for dramatic magical moments.
Now for magic game through, bargains. The Warlocks.
Warlocks, making pacts with powerful, otherworldly beings for magic. Very distinct spellcasting style.
Yeah, fewer spell slots, but they recharge on a short rest, which is unique. And they rely heavily on cantrips, especially Eldritch Blast, boosted by
Eldritch invocations. These customizable extra abilities are core to the Warlock. They can grant dark vision, let you read any writing, push enemies with your blast, so many options.
And their patron, their subclass, is who they made the deal with. This defines their main powers and flavor. The Fiend gives firepower and temporary hit points.
The Archfey grants fey magic, charm, and illusions. The Great Old One gives psychic abilities, telepathy. The Hexblade lets you use your charisma for weapon attacks, makes them good in melee.
The Celestial offers healing and radiant damage, a more benevolent pact. The Genie gives elemental power and a little pocket dimension.
The Undying makes you hard to kill. The Fathomless uses deep-sea magic. The Undead gives you lich-like powers. Seeker is about exploration. Lurker in the Deep is more cosmic horror.
Warlocks have amazing role-playing potential built in with that patron relationship, and their unique spell slot recovery and invocations make them play very differently.
Very versatile and often quite potent. All right, last of the core classes. The Master of Studied Magic, the Wizard.
Wizards, the ultimate arcane scholars. They have the potentially largest spell list in the game, relying on their spellbook and careful preparation.
Exactly. It's all about study, knowledge, preparation. They learn tons of spells and can change which ones they have ready each day. That adaptability is incredible.
And their subclasses, the arcane traditions or schools of magic, let them specialize. Abjuration focuses on protection, wards, defense.
Evocation is about big, destructive spells, fireballs, lightning bolts. Divination peers into the future, gains insights. Conjuration summons creatures and objects.
Necromancy deals with life, death, and undeath. Illusion creates tricks and phantoms. Enchantment influences minds. Transmutation changes forms and substances.
War magic mixes arcane power with better defenses for battle. Blade singing is that elf-focused tradition blending sword fighting and spellcasting gracefully.
Wizards are perfect for players who love having a huge toolbox of spells, enjoy strategic planning, and want the right magical answer for almost any problem.
The ultimate magical utility belt. So that covers the core classes and their main subclass flavors.
But before we wrap up, we should briefly touch on those other options you mentioned earlier. Homebrew classes, for example.
Right. These are unofficial classes made by the community. Things like the Blood Hunter, maybe an Alchemist, a Chronomancer. Tons of creative ideas out there.
They can be really cool, add new themes, but you definitely need to talk to your dungeon master first, make sure it fits the game and is balanced.
Absolutely. DM approval is key for homebrew, and then there's multiclassing.
Taking levels in more than one class, like a fighter who dips into rogue for stealth and skills, or a cleric sorcerer mixing divine and arcane power.
Yeah, it lets you create really specific character concepts.
Yeah.
But it does make things more complex. You need to understand the rules for it, and you might delay getting higher level features from your main class. It's a trade-off.
So choosing a class, it really comes down to finding what clicks for you, doesn't it? Your play style, the character story you want to tell, how you want to fit in the party.
Exactly. Think about your backstory. What kind of challenges does your campaign involve? What roles does the party already have covered, or what's missing? And just what sounds fun to you?
Because that's the main thing. These classes, these subclasses, they're just frameworks, invitations to be creative and have adventures.
There's no single best class.
Yeah.
Just the one that's best for the story you want to tell.
Well said. And we should definitely give a big shout out to LitRPG Reads and Paul Bello, that fine fellow, for putting together the guide that helped frame our chat today.
Absolutely. Great resource. So for everyone listening, we'd love to know what you think. What are your favorite D&D classes or subclasses? What makes them stand out for you?
Yeah, let us know in the comments. We're curious to hear your takes.